Jennifer Kesse woke up early on a Tuesday morning in 2006 to go to work. The 24-year-old left her condo in Orlando, Florida, and was never seen again. 2 days later, her car appeared in a parking lot a mile away from her house, but no clues about what happened to the young woman were found. A surveillance camera captures images of an individual walking near the place where her car was abandoned. But on every frame, their face was covered by a fence. Police don't even know if the person is a man or a woman. Reporters call the individual the luckiest person of interest in the world. With no other information about what happened to Jennifer, her family is still looking for any proof of her whereabouts or her fate. Jennifer Kesse. Jennifer Kesse was 24 years old at the time of her disappearance. She was a graduate of the University of Central Florida, where she got a degree in finance. Twice in 1 year, she got promoted at her job as a finance manager at Central Florida Investments Timeshare Company in Orange County, Florida. Her family described her as an intelligent woman with an adventurous spirit. She always wore a smile on her face. Her boyfriend Rob Allen said, quote, "She was up for anything and willing to travel anywhere and try new things." He and Jennifer had been in a long-distance relationship for a year, and she would often visit him at his house in Fort Lauderdale. A couple months before disappearing, the young woman bought a condo in Orlando, but the residential complex was under construction, and Jennifer had complained to several people she knew that construction workers often catcalled and harassed her. She often expressed her awkwardness at the fact that some workers who knew she lived alone stayed at the complex during the night. The weekend before she went missing, Alan and Jennifer took a trip to the island of St. Croix in the Caribbean. On the early morning of Monday, the woman drove back to her house and then went to work the full day. The last time anyone physically saw her was at 6 p.m. as she was leaving work to go home. She called her parents and later that night her boyfriend. That's the last time anyone heard from Jennifer. The mystery starts. On January 24th, 2006, Jennifer apparently got ready for work as usual. She left a damp hand towel next to the sink, her makeup scattered on the counter, and a couple of work outfits on the unmade bed. In an interview with Dateline, her mother said, quote, "She left, she locked her door, and that is where the mystery starts." The situation seemed off immediately to her loved ones. Jennifer would always text her boyfriend in the morning before going to work. But that day, Rob received no messages or calls. As he was rushing to work, he tried reaching her, to no avail. After his 9 o'clock meeting, her boyfriend tried calling her one more time, but she didn't pick up. By lunchtime, he was feeling worried but never imagined something terrible had happened to his girlfriend. As he told NBC News, quote, "My mind just didn't go there. You never think something like this could ever happen to someone you love." Over in Bradenton, Florida, Jennifer's parents got a surprising call. Their daughter hadn't shown up for work and had missed an important meeting. That was very unlike the hardworking and responsible young woman who usually called if she was late for work. Therefore, her employer was very concerned and got in touch with her parents, Drew and Joyce. Both her mother and father knew something was wrong. Their daughter wasn't picking up the phone or answering texts. Her father described, quote, I called, and for the first time since Jen was a teenager, it went straight to voicemail." Without wasting another minute, the couple called their son Logan, who was working out at the gym. Together, they started the 2-hour drive to Jennifer's condo. Once there, the managers let them inside to check if anything was out of the ordinary. Everything in the apartment showed that she had gotten ready for work that morning. They even found puddles of water still in the shower. But Jennifer and her 2004 Chevrolet Malibu, along with her purse, wallet, iPod, cell phone, and keys, were missing. The person without a face. 2 days after the disappearance, following extensive media coverage of the incident, the police received a tip. Residents at the Huntington-on-the-Green apartment complex had seen Jennifer's car in their parking lot. The authorities found no signs of struggle on the vehicle, nor any clues of what happened to her. Bloodhounds brought to the scene tracked a scent from the car to some bushes outside Jennifer's building. This led investigators to believe that the suspect had parked the vehicle and gone back to her place. A latent print and a small DNA sample were found along the route, but yielded no definite discovery. The event led to the only person of interest in the case. The Orlando Police Department went through the surveillance tapes near the location where the car was found. They discovered footage of a person who parked her car, got out, and walked away. But the authorities came across one big issue. The camera snapped a picture every 3 seconds. In every one of 3 frames taken of the person of interest as they walked by, their face appears covered by a fence. No feature is distinguishable from the footage, even after NASA enhanced the video to try and find more details. However, they only concluded that the individual was around 5'3" to 5'5" inches tall, and was wearing clothes similar to what construction workers use. To this day, the police asked the general public to call the Central Florida Crime Line at 800-423-TIPS if they recognized the individual in the picture. Since it was impossible to see the face, they requested the audience to focus on the individual's clothes and haircut, or the time frame in which the pictures were taken. The suspects. Alan, Jennifer's boyfriend, was the first person to be questioned by the police as a suspect. He, however, had a solid alibi. From day one, he also accompanied the family in the search for Jennifer. Alan camped out on her couch for weeks as they were looking for her. To this day, her parents refer to him as another member of the family. Around 100 construction workers were also questioned during the investigation, but most of them were undocumented immigrants from Mexico, and the police had difficulty communicating with them in Spanish. The questioning didn't yield any evidence. Nevertheless, Jennifer's brother Logan still suspects one of the construction workers might have known what happened to his sister. Matt, an ex-boyfriend of Jennifer, confessed to the police that he was particularly upset when they had broken up. He and their group of friends were investigated thoroughly, but there was no evidence linking them to a possible abduction. Another main suspect was Johnny Campos, a married co-worker of Jennifer, who had made several alleged passes at her for months. The woman rejected his advances a number of times, as she had a personal policy not to date anyone she worked with. According to the witnesses, Campos was late for work on the day she went missing and blamed it on a traffic ticket that was never verified. Co-workers saw him that morning looking nervous and pacing around the office. A witness told the police that days before the crime, Campos got upset at Jennifer because of the weekend getaway she took with her boyfriend. Once he even confronted a co-worker that sent her an email saying she looked good one day. The same witness claimed that after her disappearance, Campos said that Jennifer was, quote, likely eaten up by alligators already. However, the police supposedly investigated Campos thoroughly and found no link between him and the crime. 3 years later, David Byron Russ, an inmate at the Seminole County Jail, contacted the woman's father. The man recognized Jennifer from a series of photos of missing people passed around inmates, hoping that one of them would recognize a victim. Mr. Kesey visited Russ in prison, but nothing came from the tip the man gave. Authorities tried to ping her phone, but it has been off ever since she went missing. There's also never been any activity reported on her bank account or a toll pass. The tiniest bone. Something. The family claims the investigation of the case was an absolute mess from day one. Even though they called the police just hours after Jennifer went missing, officers refused to open a missing persons report. They said she was an adult and could have gone away on her own accord. In 2019, the family sued the Orlando Police Department to access all the investigation files. But according to her brother, the documents only showed the messy investigation the police had done. After the case, the Florida legislature passed Senate Bill 502, also known as the Jennifer Kesse and Tiffany Sessions Missing Persons Act. This allows the Missing Endangered Persons Information Clearinghouse to assist in the investigation of missing adults under 26 years old. The act also forces local law authorities to report missing children or adults to state and federal criminal databases within only 2 hours of receiving the report. On November 8, 2019, the family's investigators discovered an old tip from a woman, which led to a dead-end path. She claimed that on the day of the disappearance, she saw a man drive a pickup to Lake Fisher in Orange County. Then, she saw him unload a 6 to 8 foot piece of rolled up carpet which he threw into the lake. Coincidentally, the carpet from the condo across the hall in Jennifer's building had been torn off. Orange County Sheriff's Department deployed cadaver dogs in the area and dive teams into the lake, but they came back empty-handed. Jennifer's family is still investigating her disappearance 15 years later, handing out flyers and trying to find the faceless person of interest from the security camera video. As more time goes by and Jennifer's parents get older, they're afraid they'll pass away before discovering what happened to their daughter. Her mother Joyce told Dateline, quote, "If she's not alive, we just want some kind of proof that she's not with us anymore. The tiniest bone, something."